Hey guys, it's Jonny here. I'm a writer and director for the Museum of Entrepreneurship. I hope you're managing well at home and keeping safe. What we wanted to do is to actually talk to our business contacts and the people that we've done previous episodes on to ask them what the impact has been of coronavirus on their business. Partly this is just for a historical record. We want people to understand what went on during this momentous time and how it impacted people in the everyday. We also wanted to put this together for all those business people out there. We want to show you the insights of these other business people. Some of them have been able to diversify. Some of them have been able to carry on their business during the lockdown. We want to show you how those people did that so that hopefully you can get some tips to bring your business back on the right foot. Hello.
How are you doing?
Yeah, good. How are you, Nick?
Yeah, not bad. Interesting times.
It is. Yeah, it's a bit of an odd time right now, isn't it?
I'm Nic Cooper, as you say. It's good to speak with you. I am chairman of a company called Crowd Reactive, which operates a couple of experiential technology brands, the main one being Events Tag. And I'm also a consultant to various other agencies in the live events industry, which is my sort of sector of expertise. Prior to COVID-19, I think the industry was strong. I think generally the economy within the UK was looking positive. Unemployment at sort of record low. There were some good reasons to be confident, and particularly the events industry relies on confidence because brands need to know that the economy is looking strong if they're going to invest and so on and so forth.
When did you start to see the effects of COVID-19 and the lockdown and all of that, and what were those effects?
We saw it very, very early on. There's a big expo in Barcelona called Mobile World Congress, which is the biggest sort of mobile exposition in the world, and we had a very large piece of business which was cancelled because there was a big Chinese delegation that were involved in coming over. And then you kind of saw this domino effect at this particular event where lots of other brands were cancelling. So very early on, I had a feeling that it was actually going to be very, very serious, even if it wasn't a pandemic at this stage. I emailed all the other businesses that I'm connected with, and I said, just to put this on the horizon, I think this is a situation we need to watch. It might not affect us, but my gut feeling is that it will. So very early on, I had a feeling about it. I mean, I think what's fascinating about this situation, and I started my original business in 1991, which was at the height of a recession. I've been through the sort of dot-com bubble burst. I've been through 9/11, foot and mouth, the crash of 2008. So you would think that, somebody with a bit of grey hair who's kind of been through that battlefield would sort of have seen everything. But actually, I hadn't. And a lot of people of my age and experience hadn't either. It had an immediate effect on the events industry because brands had to be super cautious because the events industry is all about bringing large groups of people together face to face to talk and not to do what we're doing here. A lot of brands would just, there's a 3-line whip, which is, no, we're going to cancel this event, or we'll postpone this event, or we'll try and do some sort of digital communication in place of it. So with the businesses that I was involved in, that was very much the reaction. And in fact, if you look across the whole industry, and I have friends in the music business who promote bands and put on festivals and things like that, and they were hit very, very quickly. What I was trying to do personally was trying to gauge how serious this was going to be, or is going to be, how long it was going to last into the future. Because without that sort of information, it's very hard to make informed decisions.
Of course, yeah.
So I rang around a lot of friends, a lot of connections, and just to see where they were. Friends who are in brands, friends who are in the music business. I've also got friends who are restaurateurs. Very quickly, with the businesses I've been involved in, we looked at the cash situation. In certain instances, we furloughed staff. In certain instances, we've regretfully had to lay staff off. I've seen there are a couple of businesses, live events agencies, that have closed down. And I think what they decided to do was, they would burn all their cash trying to keep the business afloat, even if they furloughed staff, even if they made some redundancies. And they felt the cost was too high. The owners felt the cost was too high. So what they did was they had a managed sort of closing down of the business. They paid their debts off. They paid the redundancy costs, and then they still had some money at the end of the day. And I can understand that approach, because there is no point in kidding yourself that, actually it's going to be fine and we'll just burn this cash and then we'll come out of it at some stage, because nobody knows when we're going to come out of it. And as I said earlier, I've had lots of conversations with people in the music industry, people in brands. My friends in the music industry don't believe anything will happen until late autumn, if at all. At that point, a lot of other people I've spoken to are saying it's probably going to go into the spring of 2021. Can we get an injection which is going to be, that's going to defeat the virus or at least stave it off? Are people immune after getting this virus? Can we get testing out there? So a lot of those factors. And I think if there is an inoculation, if there is efficient testing, then I think the economy could get up and running quite quickly. Without those things, then it casts a longer, darker shadow. We are clearly in for a period of recession. But as I say, what type of recession it is, I don't know. And I think we're going to see a lot of collateral damage with businesses such as restaurants, events companies, and so on and so forth. Airlines, we look at what's happening with sort of Branson and BA and others.
How can businesses adapt to this? How can they diversify?
It depends what adapting means. Is adapting where we've got to continue social distancing or some form of social distancing? If there is a new norm, and that new norm is about social distancing for a period, I think that's going to be very, very challenging indeed. Probably get slated for saying this, but I think a lot of the live event agencies out there were not prepared for this. And the reason is that you make more money commercially, you make more money by putting on a live event. And then, people have responded quickly, but there's an absence of that technology, or there's an absence of an intuitive, seamless, engaging sort of piece of technology that you can really make work. There are silver linings, and I think, human beings, we're very inventive. In sort of an entrepreneurial setting, you have to be optimistic and you have to be brave, and so this type of environment suits that. Outside of business, what it's done is given people time to reflect on their lives. I think everybody's had to stop, everybody's had to slow, with the exception of the incredible healthcare workers, and also the guys running the supermarkets. Everyone else has really had to stop. So it does give you time to reflect. So I think there are a lot of things that we took for granted, or things that we spent money on, or things that were part of our lifestyle that we will probably question. You're going to see a lot of agencies crash. You're going to see a lot of people leave the industry, which means that at their expense, sadly, there are opportunities there. So I think a well-run business now will not only be looking about how it manages its cash and navigates through this period, this uncertain period, but I think we'll also be looking at what is it going to be like, what are the opportunities coming out, and there will be opportunities there. Being a human being, and part of that race, we have reason to be optimistic and prove that actually we can come back, and we can come back stronger.
So as far as I was concerned, as with everyone else, not having the first clue about what would confront us earlier this year, I decided it was pretty much time to sell during last year, which I did. And in order to pay this tax bill, most of my investments, no, not most, some of my liquid investments were moved out of these funds in January, after which time they just collapsed.
Right.
So since then, whilst doing this lecturing, I've been involved in 2 major new product development programs with an Israeli company. But after all this pandemic, I'm not really sure whether I'm going to proceed with them by setting up a new non-competing company to Ardmore Healthcare. But Ardmore Healthcare's business, as I've been told by the new owners, simply came to a halt.
Wow.
There have been no orders at all from any healthcare organisation or the NHS within a week of the announcement being made by the government. So it really is for almost all of those involved in commerce or industry, not of course government or academia, the most terrible time one could ever imagine or contemplate, which brings me to the major theme of one of my series of lectures which I've been giving, which is on the importance of cash.
Yeah.
It is so important, so critically important to have either cash and or liquid assets readily available. It won't pull you out of every crisis, but it surely will help. No one would have believed this a couple of months ago, so I can't do any more than reflect upon the dire situation. And as for people thinking of investing today, the only thing I would contemplate investing in today with my investment advisors would be shares that have collapsed. Do not invest in anything. Sit on your hands. And that's how serious it is.
Yeah, and do you think there has been a general just ceasing of a lot of industry and a lot of businesses and a lot of revenue?
Yes, and yes. And I don't think that most people have got the slightest idea as to what in the short term befalls them. As for the 2007-2008 crisis, it's taken almost a decade, 10 years for people, organizations, multinational companies to get back to where they were then. This is, to my mind, a completely different order of magnitude. And there will be countries that are going to go bankrupt over this. The entrepreneurs that we need to drive this country forward are going to need very, very specific, very, very great help in order to get up off their knees and get started again. It really is as serious as that. And you must contemplate this, because without entrepreneurs, there would be very little business development or growth in this country. You've just got to read through over the past three or 4 years the activity within the pharmaceutical sector of the healthcare. We haven't yet seen the worst of this output in terms of the way in which it's going to affect entrepreneurs and industry. And I think by taking seriously the comments and suggestions I've made, we stand a good chance of coming out of this much stronger.
Obviously, in a time like this, it can be hard to find positives, particularly with so many deaths and so many people locked inside. But speaking to some of these business people, they have found positives, they have found silver linings. It seems that in this time of crisis, people are willing to help. People are willing to help each other. And also the extra time that this is providing is meaning that people have the time and the resources to give out that help.
Change Ahead is an organisation that helps to prevent homelessness and support people going through that homeless transition and journey to a place of wellness.
How was it all going before the crisis? Were you building? Were you growing?
Yeah, before the crisis, we did some filming, some promotion, and work of that nature. So we were lucky; the timing was perfect. We did the filming in February, which then went to editing and came out just before the Corona, took effect. Corona has been actually wonderful in the sense that it's helped us target people's attention. Whereas before, their attention is everywhere. They're too busy traveling somewhere or arranging something, or, people are too busy or have been too busy, but now they're actually focused. And because of that focus, we're able to have a better conversation and a better yield on that conversation as well without the distractions. Because of the coronavirus effect on other people, we saw an impact. We didn't see an impact to us, but we did see an impact to others because of it.
What is it you think about maybe the industry you're in or your specific business that has meant that you've thrived during this crisis?
Yeah. I think the main thing about us is the fact that we collaborate and we're not here to compete with anyone. The real thing is just stand out and focus on what value you can add to your clients. It's the value that they want and it's the value that they need rather than the product or the service. So if you can get involved in that space and understand it's about human connections, I think you do really, really well.
That's great. And what do you think about the future, what the future holds? I've seen a lot of worry about the economy. I've seen a lot of worry about what's going to happen afterwards. What do you think the impact will be in the long term?
Yeah, I think worrying is not the best place to come from. I think the best place to come from is how can we do things differently and adapt to the adapting, changing marketplace. So the main thing I feel personally is mental health. There are a lot more people going through different challenges and it's compounded because of the isolation. Now in isolation, it's all come to the surface and it's like, right, now there's an opportunity. If we address our way of living and rebalance our lifestyles, we can handle this and manage this better and be better human beings.
If you have any stories of your own that you want to share with us about how this virus has impacted you and impacted your business, then please do let us know in the comments or email us. The email is just down there.